Hey everyone, welcome back to All Sunny Farms. I'm Grayson, and today I wanted to get out to the bee yard. And unfortunately, a couple days ago this week, I found that I had a dead out in the bee yard. And it's unfortunate that it happened, but sometimes these things do happen. But today I wanted to take the opportunity to go out to the bee yard, and I want to examine this dead out. A lot of you guys are probably wondering, why would you want to examine a dead out? What's the reason for it? And I hear a lot of times for beekeepers, especially new beekeepers, or maybe even 4-year beekeepers, maybe 8-year beekeepers will ask, why did my beehive die? And one of the best ways to know how your bees died, whether it be your bees got robbed, or your bees starved, or maybe mites or beetles, is to go out to your beehive, the one that died, and examine it. And that's what I want to do today, and show you guys how to do that, and just a little bit about maybe what happened to this hive and maybe why it did die in the circumstances that it did. Let's go and get out of the yard and let me go on and show you guys. So this is the dead out that I want to get into today, and it's unfortunate that this hive didn't make it through the whole winter. If you guys remember, this was the hive that I requeened, but I think they're just very small. But I'm not going to make any conclusions just yet. But the reason for today's video, like I mentioned earlier in the intro, is I want to get into this dead out, and I want to examine it. And what I mean examine it is, a lot of times I hear beekeepers say, why did my hive die? And the best way to do that is examine it, and I'll mention some other things later on in the video, and later on we'll conclude at the end. And first, let's start out with this frame. Now, you got to make sure you have notes so you can remember things that you did to this hive. So, I can remember that this frame right here was full of honey because I took a super and I took some of the frames out and I put some honey in here because they didn't have much honey. And as you can see, it is all empty. And before we look at that, I want to show you guys, as you can see all those little flakes? It looks kind of flaky is what it looks like. It looks kind of hardened up. It looks kind of like something happened to it. And I think what that is bees probably robbed this frame at some point within the last couple days. And that's all I can really think of, because sometimes you'll see wax moth do this, but I do not see any wax moth on this frame. Any kind of signs of it. Of course, right here, you see there's a honeybee. Right there. Now, there's a honeybee. We're going to set that frame aside, and that gives me a clue, just a little bit. We still got to check the other frames, that it could have been a robbing situation. But I still, like I said, don't know. There's a bee there. It's not alive, of course, but this frame looks alright, but there's no honey in here either. There's honey in here, so I bet bees either robbed it out or something. So that's what it looks like. And you can comment in the section below what you may think it is. This hive could have very easily got starved or whatever. But I don't think that's the case. And I'll mention it in a second. Now here, I don't see anything. I can see that it's kind of wet and kind of soggy or something. So, can't really say what that could be. But you see, as you can see there's more like flakes and stuff of, I can't really see what that is. If you probably could comment, but I think that's probably wax of that frame. And I'm gonna show you some more stuff later on in a second in the bottom of the box. All right, we got 2 more frames, and you guys are probably wondering, where are the bees that were in this hive? And if this hive was in the case of, being starved out, they would be on the frame, clustered, froze, and sticking their heads in the cells. And I only see one bee doing that, and I think the bees that you see that have their heads sticking in are probably bees that, number one, weren't killed by robber bees and they were just in here trying to eat honey or whatever, and they just couldn't survive because there wasn't any more bees, if you understand what I'm saying. Or, that's the only thing I can really think of if it was in the case of robbing situation. Now, we're going to take that frame out, and we got one more frame I want to examine. And you guys are probably wondering, why are you examining it? Why are you taking time to do it? Why don't you just leave it alone or whatever? And I could definitely do that. I could just leave it alone and I'm going to use this box later on in the future. But I wanted to use this scenario. I didn't want to take, of course, I wish this never happened. It's unfortunate, like I said earlier, but I want to make this as an educational type of thing for you guys. As you can see there's cockroaches. Sometimes they'll get into hive during winter. And over here we see some kind of webbing that's most likely could have been wax moth. And I'm gonna look in here and see if there's any wax moth, so we can guarantee if there's wax moth in here. And it's very well could be. I don't see any wax moth, but it could. But we ain't gonna really worry about it. But as you can see there's a little line. I think that's probably is wax moth, but it's on the very edge. So we're gonna put that out. I'm gonna show you guys this frame again. And this is a frame I'm really gonna go by because this was full of honey. And you guys probably see it all the time right here. If you keep bees and you come across a robbing situation, the bees in the hive ain't gonna do this. The reason why is that when the bees eat their own honey, they don't mess up their comb. Because this is their house, this is their home, this is their comb. They ain't gonna do that. But if it's robber bees from different hives, if maybe a bee from a different hive came here and said, oh, this is a very small hive, and they got a lot of honey, or at least some honey, let's go here and rob it. And I've had scenarios like this before, and it's sometimes it catches you at the wrong moment. It caught me because I had no idea, because I came out here and I opened it up and I didn't see no bees. I opened it up, this was earlier, and I saw that this was here, and I suspected it probably was robbing. And that's what I think it probably is. But, like I was saying, the bees from this hive won't do all this little flakiness right here. As you can see, it's very kind of flaky. And I see this all the time. And the reason why I know this is what happens is because at one point, whenever I set a couple of these frames out, just to let the bees rob it out in my own apiary. Sometimes I'll do that. It looks exactly like this, or maybe even worse. Another thing I want to mention, as you can see here on the bottom of this box, you can see here, there's the flakes. And the flakes, whenever the bees rob it, fall to the bottom of the box. And that's wax from the frame. And if you can see on the bottom, you see all these dead bees, that is most likely from the hive, and most likely the bees that robbed it killed these bees. And look here, there's a yellow jacket. So this might not be, let me see if you guys can see. In this corner here, you see that little yellow jacket right there? This could have not been bees. It's some kind of a robbing situation is what I think. And if you guys see this in your own apiary, this is most likely what you're going to come down to. Because like I said, if this was a case where they starved, they would have been on the frame trying to get food and sticking their heads into the cells, and you'd see their butts sticking out of the cells. So that's how I know this wasn't a case of starvation. We'll come back later and we'll talk more about it in some different scenarios and why it's important to check your hives and also keep notes and stuff like that. We'll talk more about that later. But this could have been yellow jackets, and if it was yellow jackets, as you can see here, there's a dead yellow jacket, and that yellow jacket probably just froze, or probably maybe the bees killed it, but something happened. I wasn't here when it happened. I probably was doing something else, but that's probably what happened. And that's what all the signs go to. I don't have any other signs that tell me that they starved or if they froze or something. Because last time I checked them, they had enough food. I saw them, they're eating their food, they're fine. But sometimes it's just unfortunate that this stuff happens. And, we have our bees. And also, we'll let you guys know that I took the queen out of here because she was dead on the bottom. I did try to put her on, like, a little thing and let bees... Because I've seen that sometimes they'll try to restore queens, but I don't think that's really going to work, so no really need to try it. I just took her out and put her to the side. But she was in here and she wasn't alive or whatever, but that's unfortunate, but sometimes it does happen, and this is what it really comes down to right here. It's what I think is robbing. Alright, we just got back out from the bee yard and I'm in our studio, and I just want to talk a little bit about what we saw in the hive. First off, when we did get into hive as well, you guys saw that there was a little bit of a flaky kind of comb. A lot of the flakes were off and on the bottom of the nuke on the bottom of the box. And that tells me that most likely this hive was dropped out by either, number one, other bees, other hives of mine, or number two, yellow jackets. Those are the only two things that I can think of that may have robbed this hive. That's the only thing I can see that could have happened. And most likely this would have happened on a warmer day. I don't think it happened on a cold day, because yesterday it rained all day. Yesterday morning, actually. So I don't think it would have been yesterday or the day before yesterday. I think it must have been the weekend whenever it was somewhat warmer, and around the 65-degree era, I would say. And this hive that I had that got robbed out, it was like a little small cluster. So what must have happened, and this sometimes happens to a lot of people, no matter if you're a 10-year beekeeper or an 8-year beekeeper like me, it happens. Sometimes it happens. It's unfortunate that it does happen sometimes to our bees, but sometimes it does happen. No reason to blame yourself for it. But what I do suggest, and I'll get to the topic in a second, to go back to your notes and see what you did. And that's what I did. Whenever I saw that this hive died, I went back to my notes. I really didn't take any notes. I just went back to what I remembered me doing. I remember me treating for mites, so that's number one, check mark, so must not have been mites for the problem. Number two, they had food, but when we went in the hive, there was no drop of honey. But the bees were not on the frames either. They were on the ground, on the bottom of the box. So it must have been they died because some other bees or yellow jacks killed them and tried to get their honey. That's robbing. Or maybe it was beetles. There was not bad of a beetle problem in that hive. And also I fed them. I fed them pretty good throughout the fall, leading up to December, actually in November as well. So those things, I always think about those things before I come down to one conclusion. You have to think about all the things, and that's what I did. And I checkmarked all of them, and none of them come out to being starvation or overloaded mite count. But hey, you can't say that it wasn't. I can't say for sure that they did get robbed out. That's just a theory. That's what it is. It's just a theory, so we can think about what may have happened, which we actually don't know what happened, but that's a start to knowing what may have happened, and that's the only thing I can come out to. But anyway, that's what we saw in the hive, was flaky comb along with bees on the ground, and there was also the queen was on the bottom of the box, and she wasn't alive. But earlier on, I think it was yesterday, or actually I think it was this last weekend, I took her out and looked at her, and I took her out of the box, so I wasn't able to show you guys where she was. But I don't think this was absconsion. They didn't abscond because the queen and all the bees wouldn't be on the bottom of the box dead. They wouldn't be like that. It would just be empty. Of course, maybe if they did leave the hive, they absconded. Maybe after that, that hive would get robbed out with no bees in it. The bees would just, or yellow jackets would find honey in there because they would leave all their honey behind. Those are just some different things that could have happened for other people, but that's not what happened for me, because I saw that the queen was on the bottom of the box. Bees that were to the hive, that, the workers were in the hive on the bottom of the box, and they weren't alive, unfortunately. And, it's unfortunate and devastating that this did occur, but like I said earlier, it's not just me that happens, and a lot of times, whenever this stuff happens, a lot of times beekeepers, especially newer beekeepers, will start worrying and panicking, and they'll blame themselves for it. And I think that whenever you find this as whenever you look at the hive, do what I did. Stay calm and just go back to your notes or memory or whatever you have to document it, and think about what you did. Did you treat for mites? If you didn't treat for mites, that might have been a reason why they may have died. Or did you feed them? If they're on the frame with their heads in the comb, maybe they starved. Just those simple things just to check mark and make sure. But no matter what, you know, it happens to all beekeepers, new beekeepers, me, beekeepers who've kept bees for 20 years and everything. But I wanted to do this video to do it as a very educational video for beekeepers who may be in this situation right now. It happens sometimes. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I think it'd be appreciated. I think that'd be good for other beekeepers to learn from other people's comments. If you enjoyed the video, go on and click the thumbs up. Hope you guys maybe did learn something from this video. And I also do want to mention, go on to subscribe to the channel, because I actually looked at some of the stats to my videos, and half of my people watching this video and any other video are not subscribed. So if you're not subscribed, go on and click the subscribe button. It will help me out a lot. And I'm at about 1,350 1,000 subscribers around there. So I really do appreciate the support, and I appreciate everybody who's watching this video. Go on and click the thumbs up video. That does help me out a lot, and we'll catch you guys on the next beekeeping video. Take care, everyone.